I was using it, and it's still refusing to connect.
Okay, give me your team viewer.
One four
1 4.
15.
Okay, yeah, I think this is yours, right? One four
Yeah.
15 9 6 1 1 6.
Yeah, it's opening up right now. I know the first four letters though. Yeah, 965116 88 5 F5
What is the password?
88F5
88F5.
VN
B as in boy, N as in Nancy.
V as in Victor, N as in Nancy.
Okay, I got it. Okay, so let's see here. So, okay, so you have uh, clear the screen one more time and do IPA. So you have to use the 10 IP. The
Oh, the 10. Oh, I was using the 127.
no, well, yeah, we have to talk about 127. It's a
Yeah.
loop back. So
So the
yeah,
10
at
IP
home you
is,
used to get 192 IP, right?
yeah.
Yeah, that's fine. So yeah,
Okay, so
use
use
10
10.
IP and see if it's good.
Oh, okay. With 24 port.
No, port leave it alone. 22.
Leave it 22.
Did you connect?
1 second. I'm still typing it in. It timed out.
I'm sorry,
The connection timed out.
but I can't see your putty though. Bring your putty in here. I see
I'm
your.
moving it around.
Huh?
I'm moving my screen around.
You have a dual monitor?
A wall monitor?
Dual monitor.
No.
Whose screen I'm looking at it now?
It says mine.
And where is the putty?
It's not moving on your screen. I'm looking at it right now.
Okay, yeah,
Okay, there
here
it
is your
is.
putty.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I think you reset it, so let it come up.
Oh my God.
Still timing out, huh?
Yeah.
Okay, so let me see here. Let me. Mm, okay. I'll go over this officially here, but right now. Okay. Let me see here. Yeah, you have a different password put in. Hardware is broadband. No? Come on. Okay. For now, can you use the one of the other ones, and we could troubleshoot it later on. Okay.
Yeah. That's fine.
Okay. Yeah. Alright. Okay. Today I'm going to touch up on a little bit of brief history of Linux, where it's coming from. Not too much. Very brief. And then that way you have some understanding with what is all this Linux and Unix and what is all this means. Okay, so August 22nd, 2020.
It seems like it's a little similar to Das, the old Das language.
Uh, okay. The commands, right?
Yes,
Yeah. Well, we'll see how it has all this coming through. So we'll see brief history. So what happened is AT&T, AT&T, it's that company is like more than 150 years old. Ever since the telegraph is there. So what they did is, back in the day, they were on the cutting edge of technology. So they created a operating system called Unix. The AT&T used to know. They used to call themselves Bell Labs,
yes,
Bell, Bell Company or whatever. And they used to have inside their company division called Bell Labs. And in 1960s, they created this operating system. Okay, it's called a Unix. Unix. Okay. It's created by ATT. And the date of birth for Unix operating system is uh, December December 31st, 1969. Okay, that's when the clock for the Unix operating system starts. Okay, so they created this operating system here, but they don't know what to use, how to use them, and they couldn't make it marketable. So it was actually used for developed for internal use. And for some reason they couldn't use make a good use of using it internally, and what they did was they tried to sell it. Okay, and then they couldn't sell it or market it, so AT&T couldn't market it. So what they did was they held on to it for a decade, and then what they did was okay, we'll make this like an open source software. So in 1987, they gave the source code to
Everyone.
Yeah, go to open source operating system. Okay, and then what happened was everybody took the source code and they fooled around, and we have this big player like IBM. They took it and make it AIX. Okay, and then we have HP. They took the course and they made it HPUX. And then same with Sun Solar System. They made it a Solaris. Okay, here's the catch. When they made this, then you have to use their own. If you're using AIX, you have to use the IBM hardware. So AIX is free, but here's the catch. It wouldn't work without IBM hardware, so they make the hardware expensive. So I heard one time that the AIX servers cost, 500,000, 600,000, $1 million. So I didn't really work on too much, but I heard about it. So that's what I'm telling you. Same with the HP uses the HP hardware, okay? And same is with the Sun Solaris. It uses the Sun platform. It's called Sun platform. Okay. Then what happened in 1991? This dude named Linus Traveled. Linus Traveled. He is, I think, a Scandinavian guy, Norwegian or Swedish. Okay, so what he did was he took the source code and created Linux, and he created this without being, and he made it free too. So what he made out of this is he made it hardware independent, and then he said free for anybody. Okay, and then anybody could take the Linux course source code and make and create their own OS. Okay, and it has to be free. Free to the public. Okay, and what else he did was other users were contributing to it. So organizations and individuals contribute to the code. Okay, and since it's free, everybody is taking time and making it secure here. So new tools are added, right? New tools and security is updated for free. Okay, so now you have like, these are like Unix based and these are Linux based here. So let me just cut this here. And then I'm gonna cut this. Okay, now what is happening here is nobody is going to the Unix course anymore, source code anymore. They are going to the Linux source code. TRIVOLD. Okay. So from this point on, everybody is taking the Unix source code and using it. So now it's called Linux-based distribution. Okay, so what is Linux-based distribution here is the one we are working on is Red Hat. Well, the one we are using is Red Hat, okay? It's the name of the company. I think the IBM bought this company now, Red Hat. So what Red Hat does is it has two releases, Red Hat Red Hat Enterprise Linux, RHEL, and CentOS, CENTOS. It stands for Community Enterprise OS, something like that. And they have Fedora. Fedora is used for desktops. Red Hat Enterprise Linux and CentOS is being used for the enterprise Linux here. Now there is Oracle too. Oracle the database company, you probably heard about Oracle. They have their own operating system. It's called OEL, Oracle Enterprise Linux. Okay. It is the same exact thing. There is no difference between the Red Hat and Oracle releases. When you go on to a job, unless you see which operating system it is, you would never feel a difference. And there is another called SUSE, SUSE. It's a German company, I think. It's called SUSE Linux. And mostly SAP is run on it. Since SAP is a German company, they run SAP on it, okay? And Debian is another company who's they have their own operating system called Debian. Okay, it's all Linux. Ubuntu, and this one is a South African, and mostly desktop, I think. Desktop environment. Okay, and Apple is using it. Apple is using it also. It's called iOS. There is a little different with Apple, but it's all based on Linux. If you have like a Mac, you could definitely do like ls, go to like /root and ls and all that. You should see that, okay? iOS, Mac, and Android. You could download the source code and create your own operating system here, okay? So everything is coming there here, but for mother of all this operating system is Unix, okay? So the this original slash is originating from Unix. It's not coming from Linux. It's coming from Unix here. So the world, the most of the world is sitting on / here. That's where the whole operating system is running on. There are only two operating systems in the world here. Either it's Linux, Unix based, or Windows. That's it. There is nothing else. It's all created by Americans. So now, what else we have here is within Linux, there is one other thing called RPM. RPM. Okay, what does RPM stands for? It stands for Red Hat Package Manager. You know how we install the software and all that? All these things are RPM based. So we are learning the RPM based operating system. So here, these are RPM based, and the other ones, these are not RPM based. So we're not worried about it, we're not learning it. So by far the most popular in America and most of the world is Red Hat. That's why we're going to learn Red Hat, because that's where the market share is. Okay, there is Debian too, but I think that is being used for some supercomputers or something like that. But I'm not worried about it too much.
So
But
some companies,
yeah, go ahead.
some, excuse me, some companies they're using the different, not Red Hat.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing. You have to find out if they're using RPM based. Okay, when it's RPM based, it's going to be the following: Red Hat, Oracle, SUSE. These are all RPM based. The commands you're going to be using is going to be similar here. It may be little different commands, but the internal architecture of the operating system is going to be the same, because these are all RPM based. Red Hat Package Manager. Well, when the Red Hat started to make the packages, it has become very efficient. So based on that, everybody started to adopt Red Hat Package Manager. Okay.
Uh,
All right. So there's a lot of things you have to learn, but for the course, I'm not going to go into anything. But I should thought you should know all this here, and these are called the Red Hat. All these are called distributions. Okay, these are called distributions or distro. Short for distro is short for distribution. So if somebody call you and say, what is the distribution you're familiar with on Linux? What are you gonna say? So yeah, you could name this Red Hat, Oracle, or you could just say RPM based. Okay, these
uh,
are RPM based distribution. RPM distros. Okay, that's it. So there is a lot more you could understand regarding this, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to keep it brief here. I mean, don't worry about too much here. I mean, writing the operating system is not a joke here. Not everybody could write it, because you have to write it in. The operating system is written, yeah, I think in C language, and the compiler it converts into. Uh, it converts it into, what is it converts into? The binary. So what is binary? This is what is binary is. Zeros and ones. The computer understands only zeros and ones. If you type your name into the computer, it saves your name as zeros and ones. Here we'll get to it. I'll explain you a little bit about how to convert a number into a binary. Okay, we'll go through when we look at the IP address. But for now, uh, the people who is writing or creating operating system and all that, they need to know a little bit about binary. That's where all those things are going into. Okay, so what else? Okay, so I'm going to talk about the releases when I'm going to work on the updates and all that. So we'll work in the updates area. We'll work at that moment. Okay. For now, we're not worried about that. So Okay, let me save this here. In here, in the interview, you will get quizzed about PROC. It contains the memory information, and what else? VAR. Where is VAR? VAR, you go into a VAR alert because it got a system logs in it. And the only other thing you need to worry about is etc. It contains the configuration files here. Anytime we need to change any configuration or behavior of the system, that's where it's going to go into configuration files. Other than that, you won't be get quizzed on those things. Okay, so let's see here. Brief history. Okay, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna start the user administration, but before that, let me touch upon officially. I'm gonna officially show you how to configure the network card. Okay. So August 22nd, 2020. Okay, usually this is a part of network, but I'm covering this now here because when you install the new OS, you need to know how to enable the network interface card. Okay. So what happens is, okay, so let's see here, network interface card. So everybody knows, everybody have seen this, right? On the back of the computer, this is a network interface card, right?
Yeah.
So, okay, but one other thing here, if you during the interview, if you said you're gonna be doing setting up hardware physically and all that, no, don't take that job here. That's a low paying job. That's not a administrator or engineer job here. Okay, running cables, setting up the racks and all that's called a rack and stack, and usually that is done by uh, the data center technicians. Yeah, I'm not preparing for that kind of job. I'm preparing you for a job which pays at least $50 an hour. Okay, those jobs pay like 20 bucks an hour, and somebody might call you and say, okay, I have a Linux job, and you have to do this running the cables and all those. Here, don't. That is not the job you're targeting here. Okay,
Uh,
so what I'm gonna do is, and in VirtualBox, this is the network interface card here. Okay, I'm gonna get an error message here or what? Okay, so here if you go into settings and if you go into network, let me go to this one and this one is off. So in the VirtualBox environment, you could have up to 4 network adapters here, okay? And in the real world, physical hardware, they may have 2, a minimum of 2. Okay, let's take a look here why exactly we're using more than one network card here. And then I'll help you explain this here. So let's see here. So usually what you do is, so remember when I was setting up your computer, I asked everybody to go in here and enable this here, okay? But I'm going to show this officially. So now that we are connected here, I'm going to show it in here in PuTTY because it's easier to see. So what you do is, you type IP space A. And then what happens here is, so we have like numberings here. So number 1 is going to be loop back. So 127.0.1.1, even if you don't have the network card here, this will be a starting point here. It has to has a place where the network need to start. Okay, so this is where it started. It's not used here. It's called loop back. Okay, then after that, whatever you have here, number 2, number 3, and if I go in there and add number 4 here, it will show up as, if I add the third physical adapter here, if I add one here and then if I do IPA, it will show up here as number 3. But the naming convention is ENP0S3. Okay, ENP0S8. Okay, but don't rely on this. It could be number 2 and then it could be number 5, ENPS05 or S12. So don't really worry about this here because this is tied to the MAC address here. This is the physical hardware address which is burnt into the physical card. You looking at this number here, right? You see this alphanumeric number. This number is what? This number has codes in it that tells you who is the manufacturer of the card and all that comes in here. Okay, this number cannot be changed. The IP address can be changed, but this number cannot be changed here. When somebody is tracking you, oh, sorry, go ahead.
Is this number is the same like a serial number of the physical card?
Yeah.
Okay.
So you won't be able to change the address here.
Okay.
So if FBI is on you, what they're gonna do is they're not gonna go for IP address. They're gonna go for the MAC address. And every time you communicate, if you go to Google or whatever, it shows what is the IP address is coming. At the same time, it's going to capture the MAC address. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's how they track you down here. So, but anyway, what happens here is let me put some bullet points in here. You do IP. Let me clear this. Okay, and example of NIC. By the way, NIC stands for network interface card. Okay, I'm gonna going on forward. I'm gonna say NIC. Okay, this is ENP0S3. Okay, and the configuration file associated with this, where does that configuration file sits? The configuration file sits in this following folder. So it sits in slash etc. Okay, I told you earlier, etc is all the configuration file sits in there. Not even just the for network interface card, for the entire system, it sits in the etc folder. So let me clear this. You go to cd slash etc slash sysconfig network scripts. Okay, and you do ls here. So this is the folder it sits in. Okay, and the example of the configuration file is this. It starts with if cfg. If means IP configuration file, and then name of the file here. Okay, okay. So if you have like a 10 network cards, it's going to come and sit in here. Okay, I would say don't worry about the other ones right now. We are just worried about the first one and the second one here. Okay, all these ones I'm not worried about that. So let me clear this. And let's go inside the file and take a look here. Oops. Everybody with me so far, right? Everybody?
Yes.
Okay, good. So let me go ahead and go in here. Okay, for the network card to work, for your network card to work, it automatically has some information in there. Okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to delete that in delete the ones which we really don't need. Okay, so I'm going to get rid of this, this, okay, and this. Okay, so for the internet network card to work, it need only these are the essential information it needs here. Okay, it needs line 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's all it needs. So I'm gonna put in here uh, essential needed for the NIC file to work. Okay, so I'm gonna indent here a little bit, and then I'm gonna put it here, enclosed table here. Okay, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna save and exit. Okay. All right. So let me explain you what this means here is um, type is I should have two boxes in here. Okay, so the very first one I'm going to explain you because you really need to know this. So type is Ethernet, okay? This is self-explanatory. The connection type is connection. It's going to be always Ethernet. Okay, and boot proto means protocol. Okay, what is the protocol is going to use? DHCP or static? I'll explain that a little later in the networking section when we work on it. And the name, it says ENP0S3. Okay, this should match. This should match with config file. Okay, this device this should match also. Okay, these two things should match together. Okay, and on boot means when you have this on boot, this means the system will automatically enable the IP address. So we have two protocol here. DHCP is random IP, okay, and static is assigned. Okay, so how do I explain this? Like if you're trying to get a new phone, right? Either you sometimes they may ask you, do you want to pick your own phone number? I got my phone in 1999, so I didn't have a choice back there. I just got the random phone number. But I think these days they will ask you like if you really which number you want, or at least the area code. Okay, so if you're preferring anything, that means say static IP address. And if you don't care, then DHCP stands for Dynamic Host Control Protocol. I will cover that in a network class, but that one is assigned randomly. Okay, that's all you need to worry about. DHCP is assigned randomly, and IP is static. By router. And DHCP IP can change anytime. Okay, so if you are having a trouble connecting, first thing you're gonna do is check the IP address. Okay, and In fact, let me just put it as a separate here. And then let's look at static. Okay, so what is a static IP address do? Uh, it is assigned manually to the host, and host is same thing as server, okay, and computer. Okay, let's. I mean, these are all the terms here used interchangeably, and this is not changed randomly. Okay. All right. So let's go ahead. Let me go ahead and save and exit, and then I'm going to clear this, and then I'm going to do. Let me go ahead and restart the system here. The IP address should still come back. Okay. Okay. So now what I'm going to do is, I hope it doesn't change. Okay, but we'll see. It says 250 now. I think it changed it. Yeah. In this case, it changed here. Because what it's doing is the server is assigning randomly here. Okay, by the time I reboot, I have a bunch of computers here. So by the time I rebooted, the server gave it the router gave it a new IP address here. Okay. So if I go in here into my putty, so for my practice, previously it was 101, now it's 250 here. Okay, so this is a classic example of the random DHCP. So I'm gonna see, go in there and see. Okay, there you go. I'm back to the same server here. When you're troubleshooting, the very first thing you're gonna do is check the IP address. You needed this a little bit bigger, right? Okay, now what we're gonna do is we're gonna randomly assign the IP address here, okay? This is the IP address.
So Excuse me, I have a question. What these are? One is a bridge, and other is a global scope. Global. What's the difference
Where are you seeing that? Here?
on your screen? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I have to explain that. That would be in networking. When we do networking, so what is this here is, let me see if I could explain you better here. So this is the IP address for this system right now.
Okay.
And then this is the broadcast address.
Okay.
So this is the IP address. How do I explain this? So there is a broadcast address here. You know what? Let me just hold this off for a network class here, because that way you could understand that better during that time.
Okay.
Okay, and so if we have another IP address here, it's not gonna is gonna stay the same. I'll come back to that later. Okay, let's work on this one here. So I'm gonna clear this. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go back into my folder here, etc sysconfig network scripts. I do ls here, and then what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna mess around with this and make it a static IP. Okay. So for the static IP, um, you will need all this here plus. Okay, what else you need is you need the hardware address. Okay, so how do you get the hardware address for this network card? This is the hardware address, also known as the MAC address.
Machine address.
Yeah, let's see what MAC stands for. MAC address. Okay, so media access control address. Okay, I'll put down in the notes here. So you have to copy this here and then go into the file again, and you type uppercase hardware ADDR equals, and you paste it there. Okay, and the next item you need is you need to assign the IP address. You want to give which IP address you want to manually assign. You want to give IP ADDR equals, I want to give 192.168.1. Okay, so this is 252, right? I'm going to show you, demonstrate. I'm going to assign something else other than 252. So before that, you have to know if that IP is being used by somebody else or not. Everybody is familiar with the command prompt here, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, bring that up and make sure you put it on the bottom here, pin it to your taskbar so that it comes handy. We will be using this. So I'm going to do a ping. Before that, let me do IP config here. If you type IP config, it will give you your own IP address. This is for the Windows. This is for the Windows box here. This is the IP address here. So I'm planning on giving a 150. So ping 192.168.1.150. It's a pinging, and Okay, so it says destination host not reachable. So 150 is not pinging. So we are in a safe place that we could use 150 here, okay? And I'm going to give the IP address 150 here. Okay, and one last information it needs is net mask. Okay, most of the time if you are a home user, the net mask is going to be this here 255 255 255.0. Most of the time, if you're as long as you're in this class here, just blindly put down net mask is 255.255.255.0 here. In fact, I haven't seen any other net mask other than this at my work. It's possible it could be one. Don't quote me on it, but most of the time this is what it is. Okay, that's it. These are the essential basic information you need for the static IP address. Okay. You guys getting the concept here, right? Why we have the static IP address? Because later on it will be necessary so that the server randomly doesn't change the IP address, so that it needs to
Configure.
yeah, for the configuration and for the application to be running. I mean, how are you gonna feel if your phone number change every week?
Right.
Yeah, I mean it's gonna go crazy, you know. So that's why we're gonna assign that static IP here. So far this information is okay. Here's the thing here. So the boot proto you have to make it static. Delete DHCP and type static. Okay, and if you think these things are in uppercase, you must type it in uppercase. If you type it lowercase, it's not gonna work. What happened here? So on boot, name 1 2 3 4 5. Okay, here this line is taking up. Okay, you know what? Actually, I might have to, for the sake of you guys are still learning, so. And this information goes here. Okay, so this is Ethernet, and the boot protocol we are using is static here. Okay, and the device name is that, and device name again, and we want it on boot, yes. Okay, and hardware, and what happened to net mask? It didn't copy it over. So this is the connection. So it looks better this way. Okay, so this is the hardware address, okay? Or MAC address. And this is the IP address. And this is the network mask, subnet, network mask. Okay, we'll talk about that when I do the networking class here. Okay. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna save and exit here. Okay, so when we reboot or restart the network file, this should be 150 should be the IP address. Okay, let me clear this. Okay, when you look at this, 250 is the IP address, right? Let's target it for 150 here. I'm going to clear this. Okay, to restart the network protocol here in the system without restarting the computer itself, you type system ctl restart network. Okay, we'll see. It may or may not work because we are physically assigning the IP address. So we should get disconnected. Why would we get disconnected?
It's a new IP address.
Yeah, very good. There it is. It assigns itself a new IP address, 150. So we will never be able to connect here. So I'm going to disconnect here. And I'm going to load, go ahead and make this as 150 now. Save it. There you go. There, that's the information here. So now the system has a static IP address. All right, I'm going to pause here for a moment. If somebody's following along with me, then if you have a question, let me know.
This is Zafar.
Yeah.
My I don't think mine came up the same as yours. I mean, it I think it's disconnected, but I can't tell.
Yeah, no, go ahead in there directly and then see, type in IPA. It should get
I did.
disconnected.
Okay.
Then if it's a different IP, then use that as a new IP. And see, is that what you have assigned?
Yeah, with that same IP though, it doesn't pop up right there, and that doesn't show. It doesn't pop up. The link and the link shows up, the same as yours, but it doesn't show anything else after that.
Did you restart the network already?
Yeah.
System CTL. Okay, give me 1 second.
CTO restart network.
Yeah.
As soon as that happened, the directory popped up, the root popped up, and I typed in IPA, and then I'm looking at this right now.
So the IP didn't change, right?
I don't believe it did.
Okay. So we'll take a look here in a second. Let me just clear this up a bit. Okay. So let me get your. It's the same, right? So,
Mine should be 19196.789. No, that's not me. No, 196.789. Okay, just you want to just type it in?
okay. 196.
789
Mm-hmm.
988.
Okay, and
RS
RS
9
9
E as in Edward
E as in Edward
66.
66.
Yep.
Okay, I'm in. Okay, good. So you type IPA. So the IP address for which one you were assigning static IP? S3,
2.
right?
Make 2.
Yeah. Okay. So let's go and look at the configuration file for that.
Oh, excuse me. Change directory again, right?
Yeah, either that or you don't really have to. You could do the
Sorry.
you could do the
Or just the VI? Just edit?
yeah VI. Yeah, why don't you try that? Yeah.
Oops.
Yeah, go back to the directory first. Yeah, just change the CD to VI. Okay, yeah. Well, that's fine too. Do LS.
That's fine?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and then go to VI.
Sorry.
Quit.
Where's quit? Oh my God.
Shift:*Q.
Thank you. What the heck? I'm sorry.
Yeah,
There
you
it
go.
is.
clear the screen? LS. Do LS. Yeah, I want to see something. Okay, yeah. So do then VI S3 IF
Okay.
CFG. Yeah, tab EN tab. Yeah. No. Take out /24
Okay.
on the IP address /24. What was the previous IP address?
The previous IP address was that. That's the one that I wrote down.
You want to keep the previous one, or you want to assign something new so that you could see it's actually working?
I'll try to assign something new.
Yeah, do 150 or whatever, or do 200. You don't have too many computers there, do you?
No, this is just my own right now. This
Yeah,
is a
okay.
Mac.
Yeah, just do 240.
Type in 240 right here.
Yeah. Okay, and escape. The hardware address, you copied it correctly, right?
Yep.
You're not using a putty?
No, I don't believe so.
Okay, yeah, sooner or later you need to use that. So Shift:*X and clear it now. And now type systemctl restart network. Yeah, now do IPA. Okay, there you go. It's
Oh,
240 now.
Thank you.
Yeah, so now you get the concept, right? How it's working here.
Yes, sir.
So now the
I
whole.
wasn't supposed to put the slash, was I?
I'm sorry, what?
I wasn't supposed to put the slash.
Yeah, no.
That's
No, not.
okay.
All those things, some places we will use it, but not here. When we're going to
Okay.
set up the DNS, then
Okay.
we will use that here.
All
Okay,
right.
so yeah, you look good. Yeah. Anybody else have any issue?
Thank you, Mr. Zafar.
No.
Okay, good. So I'm out of there. Okay, so everything is in here. Um, so I'm gonna highlight the difference here. This is different than the regular IP address here. If you want a quick and easy way to have like a system IP before you do anything else, this is what you do. And I think I explained to you enough here. Okay, so that is that. And how much time we have? We have another half hour. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you a concept of NIC bonding, okay? Anybody familiar with the Windows environment? It's called NIC teaming. Okay, I'll show you. No worries. So I'm gonna say here. So I'm gonna. Okay, so let's get something from internet here. NIC bonding. So what is happening here now is so the system won't be reliant on one. Okay, I don't like this. Yeah, I still don't like this. Okay, so what happens is this is the server we have here. Okay, so I'm gonna put down here. So this is the Linux server, and then we have like two Ethernet adapters here, Ethernet 1 and 2. So let me just rewrite this here. So here we have two adapters here, right? ENP 0S3 and ENP 0S8. So we're gonna use this here. Okay, that's it. So what is happening here is we have two servers. I'm sorry, one server. It got two Ethernet cards in here, and we're gonna bond it together. We're gonna make this use as one Ethernet card here. So what will happen is the advantage is if ENP0S3 goes down, it will pick up the connection from ENP0S8. That way the system will never be down. And at the same time, it could go to a different switch also. So if this part of the switch goes down, it will pick up the other one. If other goes down, it will pick up the other one, okay? So I think you're getting a concept here. No worries. All right, so we're going to configure the NIC bonding here. So what are the requirements for NIC bonding?
Two different IP
Yeah, two different,
address.
yeah. Before that, let me get a definition here. NIC bonding. Okay, so yeah, it's actually working, helping with the connection throughput. That means the how much the data can be handled, and then also if one goes down, it will keep it floating. Okay. All right. So what is the requirement you should have? Um, you should have at least one two network interface card. Okay, you should have a two network interface card, and what I'll do is a requirement in VirtualBox. At work, you won't be using VirtualBox here. It's just here we're gonna use VirtualBox. So this one NAT, I'm gonna get rid of NAT and then I'm gonna put it as bridged. This one is bridge 2 and allow. Okay, I'm gonna give it a screenshot here. Okay, so Alt and screen. And adapter 1 and adapter 2. Both of them should have the card enabled. That's fair enough, right? You guys could see this.
Yeah.
Two NIC cards. Enable bridge adapter and yeah. That's fair enough here. I'm not going to go too much detail. Okay, all right. So I'm going to save this. I'm going to OK this. And here I'm going to clear this. And I'm going to do systemctl, restart, network. Before that, see how this one has like an outside internet IP address. Is going to change it to 192. And this one will be assigned randomly, okay? And this one should stay the same. Okay, I'm going to do IPA and ENP08. It was assigned randomly. and this one is staying the same. Okay, so now you could see how we are playing around here. Okay, guys, I'm telling you what you're learning here, these are the skills. A lot of people, they don't have it. Okay, that's what the big employers, they're paying big bucks for Linux admins, engineers, just to keep their internet stuff working. So let's move forward here. Okay, so let's go to cd etc sysconfig, and I want you guys to get in a habit of using tab key to autofill it. Okay, and let me clear this pwd ls. So what do we have here? We have a NIC1 and NIC2. That's how I'm going to say. NIC1 and all right, NIC2. So what I'm going to do is, so here, these are the configuration files here. I want to create a backup here. What is the command I use? Copy NIC3 to nic.bak. Usually, you could give you are giving any other name, right? And then usually
Yeah.
give the date here, 08/22/2020. That way, if somebody goes in here, they know this was created as a backup, and this was done on this day here. This is just made up. I'm making up this here. So there is no other correlation in here. Okay, just making up as a file name so that I have a backup. I'm gonna go do the same thing to 8 also. Okay, if I do ls, I should have these two lines in here. Okay, so these are extra. So it is a good habit, you always keep a backup. Okay, now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna fool around. I'm gonna go ahead in this and fool around in here. Okay, so vi, and then in here I'm gonna match what is the basic stuff we needed here. Okay, what is the basic stuff we need here for the working Ethernet adapter? We need the type. Do I need the type? So I'm going to delete these lines here. Okay, I need yes, I need uh, okay, type. In here I don't need a type here, okay? So I'm gonna move this around a little bit. So I move device on the top row, okay? And then on boot, I'm gonna move it on a top row also. Okay? And the boot protocol, here the boot protocol is gonna be none. And then we are gonna type equals yes, and then okay, and all right, this is all it needs.
So these are like a minimum parameters.
Yeah, these are minimum lines you need for the NIC bonding to work. Okay, and then we're gonna go mess around with the other one too. Let's see here. I'm gonna do cat, and I'm gonna do vi8. See, I deleted everything. I go into insert mode, I paste it here. Everything else remain the same except that device ID is going to be 8. Okay, this is how you manipulate. You got to get in the habit of using the VI editor here. See how much time I saved already? Okay, so I'm going to save and exit. So I'm going to put this in here. And for 8, I'm going to put this in here. And I'm going to do cat. So this is the output I got. Okay, so time to showcase here. So what I'm going to do here is okay, now what else I'm going to do is I'm going to expand this furthermore. You don't need to know this is, you already know what this is, okay? Now we need to create a file name bond 0. This says bond 1 here, but we need to create a file name bond 0. All right, guys, carefully. Wherever you're supposed to use the uppercase, use the uppercase. If you used to use the lowercase, use the lowercase. And if you do ls here, the file name bond0 doesn't exist. Okay, if it doesn't exist, what we're going to do is we're going to create one. So the format is going to be the same here. Bond0. So the format is going to be similar. So I'm going to say vi ifcfg hyphen bond0. Okay, the file doesn't exist. When I do this here, it will create one for me. Okay, and in here I need the same information. Over here, the device name is going to be bond0. Okay, type. Now we got rid of type before, but type over here, type is going to be bond. Okay, see how I type bond? It takes that one, that information. On boot, yes. Now boot proto, there is no boot proto there right now, but we boot proto static. And then this is not a slave here, so I'm gonna take this out. It doesn't need this information either. Now I need to add the static IP address equals 192.168.1.250. Okay, and the net mask almost all the time is going to be 255.255.255.0. I got an extra 5 there, so I'm going to get rid of it. Okay, this is essential for your bond. Okay, now what we're going to do is we need to update the bond configuration file. Where are the configuration files? What directory the configuration files are? So the bond configuration file is sitting into the etc folder. Vi etc then mod probe. We'll go over what mod probe is later on. Bonding. Okay, bonding file doesn't exist, so create one. If you do this, it will create a bonding file in there, okay? I'm going to change it here, create bond config file. Okay, I hit enter here. In here, it needs basic information. You type alias and space bond0 space bonding. Okay, you just type this information in here. Okay, now what we need to do is activate bonding. So if you do ls here, bond 0 is there, right? Let me clear this. IPA. We haven't started the system yet. Okay, so it could sit there for like 20 years unless you do like system CTL restart and all that. It's not going to work. Okay, so let's activate this. So how do I activate the bonding? Mod probe bonding. What we're doing is we're activating the drivers. Okay, so the mod probe bonding is there. That's the command you put in there. Mod probe binding. Now what we need to do is we need to before we do this here, we need to check in the memory that it's loaded here. So you type ls mod and grep bonding. So this is active in the memory here. Now what we're going to do is look at this output here. I'm going to copy this output here. So you type systemctl restart network. We shouldn't get disconnected here, okay? Why? Because we are using the same IP address. What is happening here? Yeah, bonding is working. But why did we got disconnected here? Let me just duplicate session. It might take a while here, huh? 192, 168, 250. Oh, okay. I changed the IP address to 250, right? The bonding IP address I set to 250. Yeah. Okay, so I changed the IP static to, instead of 150, I changed it to 250. So yeah, definitely you will get disconnected. I was thinking I'm keeping the same here. Now the practice box is going to go back to 250. Okay, I'm gonna put down root. I do IPA. Now what do you see here is bound 0 is active and it's using 192.168.1.250, which is exactly what we have assigned here in here. Okay, if you look in here, we assigned this IP address to 250 and we made it a static IP address. Okay, so what is happening now is, now which Ethernet card it's using here, you have to look at the MAC address. Look at this MAC address and look at
The
the MAC
same.
address bar. They are the same here. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna bring this down as ENP0S3 out, and then we'll see it should use ENPS08 here. So how are we gonna do that? You go in here, you go into machine, you go into settings, and you go into network and one, right? So what you do is not attached. Just click on not attached and see if that is going to work. If not, then we have to disable this. So if I do IPA, did I get disconnected? Uh-oh. So I'm going to clear this and I'm going to do activate restart new session. Okay, so it didn't like the way I removed it. So what we're going to do is I'm going to close this. In the real world scenario, you don't have to worry about this here. What you have to do is, if the cards fail physically, it will create so I'm gonna do this here, but I'm gonna disconnect here. Okay, here's another place here. You could see the IP, the MAC address. So I'm gonna say enable network adapter. I'm gonna take it off, and I'm gonna bring the system back up. All right, 2 more minutes. I'm gonna end the class. Okay, it's back to 250 here. And if you look at the IP address or the MAC address, is using last 2 digits is F53. This is F53. Okay, let me go ahead and connect. Restart session. Why is it not doing it? Should have restarted here. Okay, in the real world scenario, the server won't go down, but it will generate a ticket here. Okay, so if you compare here, let me log in here, root. And then look in here, it's before restart, it was using, it's ending with 71, right? It was ending with 71. Now I'm going to do IPA. So now it's using F3, which is the one which is left here. But the IP address remained the same here. Okay, so in the good example scenario, the system don't need to be rebooted here. Okay, or I'm going to end here, and then I'm going to upload the recording soon as it's available. Okay. Any questions,
you.
put in a chat, and then the more you use the chat, the better it gets for you.